Hello, I'm Tom, and with my partner Aditya, we are Cultivate Compliance. We help businesses in the agricultural sector better manage regulatory compliance paperwork. When we started selecting a business, we wanted to make sure there was a high growth market. We wanted to make sure there was a real pain point, something really affecting people. And we wanted to make sure those people were accessible to us, so that we could go to them, interview them, find their real problems, and get their feedback on our solutions. And we wanted our solution to be conducive to a fast, minimum viable product, and quick iterations, so we could incorporate customer feedback. Next, we set out to make sure that we were investigating areas of interest for us. So Aditya cared about agriculture, and Tom had experience with consumer packaged goods. Let's start with CPGs. Tom knew from his time at CPGs that they were having trouble connecting with consumers. They were looking at mobile channels to do it. He knew the sales offices in Toronto were accessible, but they didn't know if P&G, Unilever, and the big CPGs would even give two entrepreneurs the time of day, or if the bureaucracy at CPGs would let anything be done with a fast development cycle. And they had a hypothesis about Instagram users and the possibility for product placements that they needed to confirm. So, Tom called 12 CPG employees at 4 of the large CPGs. And things were confirmed and denied. It was figured out that the bigger CPGs would not take the time to work with two entrepreneurs. They were consulting firms. And fast development cycles were not something that could happen with the levels of bureaucracy at a CPG. An Instagram user-based product placement had already been mastered by a few firms out of New York who had a near monopoly on the market. So we looked at agriculture. Aditya had identified marijuana as an area for high growth in agriculture, but we didn't know if we would even be able to visit the operations, didn't know if they had a pain point, and didn't know if there was an opportunity for a solution we could iterate. But we did a little bit of research and learned that there was a pain point with energy-sucking crops, and the amount of energy these crops were using was something that had not yet been addressed based on the news. So we tried to call the operations, but were unable to reach them, and a lot of that was just due to privacy and them not wanting to talk to two entrepreneurs without any credibility. So we took a new approach. We spoke to marijuana consultants to take a different approach to information gathering, and speaking to 5 marijuana consultants was the equivalent of getting the information on 23 different growing operations. And we learned something. We confirmed that energy was an issue, but we learned that it was a capital investment issue. The places having trouble with energy just hadn't invested in greenhouses, so we could not create a solution we could iterate quickly, and with no expertise or resources or partners in greenhouse structural development, we decided to look elsewhere. We moved to investigate challenges faced by vegetable greenhouses, hypothesizing that they would be more accessible to us, not having to use consultants as a middleman, and that if there was a problem similar in vegetable greenhouses and marijuana greenhouses, we could gain credibility in the vegetable market and then move to the marijuana market to capitalize on the growth. So we still had some hypotheses to confirm. We didn't know if there was a link between vegetable and marijuana greenhouses. We didn't know if we could visit the vegetable operations, and we didn't know if they had a pain point or there was an opportunity for a quick solution. So we set to work. And we reached out to 20 greenhouses throughout Ontario to confirm our hypothesis that there was an unaddressed challenge faced by growers, and if we could develop expertise and credibility with a problem common to greenhouses, both marijuana and vegetable, then we could start with vegetable and capitalize on growth in marijuana. But we found vegetable greenhouse growers only really generated issues very specific to their own operations, so we took a new approach to problem identification. We called the Ontario Greenhouse Vegetable Growers Association, which allowed us to identify compliance paperwork as a challenge common to all greenhouses. But we didn't just want to take their word for it, we talked to the customers. So, we called 70 greenhouses, conducting interviews with 47 of them, to inquire about the challenges managing compliance paperwork, and we were able to confirm beyond a shadow of a doubt that the hypothesis that compliance paperwork was a challenge was correct. And in the meantime, we developed a relationship at Bedrocan, a medical marijuana provider. Bedrocan confirmed that the issue of paperwork existed for marijuana growers too, and if we could be a company with a proven electronic solution in the vegetable greenhouse market, they would be interested in seeing what we had to offer. So we confirmed the link hypothesis between marijuana and vegetable growers. We confirmed that simplifying paperwork was a great value proposition, but there are other questions. Would the Ontario greenhouse vegetable growers support 2 young entrepreneurs? Were farmers interested in a digital solution that would give us the opportunity to iterate quickly? We did some more research, calling back all of the farmers we'd originally contacted, and we learned that growers were interested in a digital solution and that the OGVG would support us. But that opened up new questions, like what user design should we use, and will we be able to establish the relationships with growers to be able to iterate to a solution? So we called and we visited 4 greenhouse operations in different parts of Ontario to establish relationships as well as to get design feedback. We also developed a quick wireframe version of the program so that they could test it and we could start iterating right away. And with one visit, we went from this complicated model to something simpler. Farmers wanted simplicity, so we were able to iterate our wireframe to get feedback that was more relevant by matching their needs at an early stage. And further discussion showed that farmers wanted some tasks displayed on larger tablets, managerial stuff, and employee work sent out with the smaller phones, and again, we iterated. So, knowing that we had a good design premise, we needed to learn a little bit about our costs. We didn't really know how much this was going to cost us, or our revenue streams. So again, we set out to do some research. We spoke with growers about software they currently owned, and asked how much they spent and how they paid, and we confirmed the viability of software as a service payments, and learned more about industry standards of pricing software per user so it could be scaled across different size organizations. We additionally interviewed a lean project developer and a software as a service business owner to get an understanding of our costs, and we confirmed our hypotheses about cost drivers being from sales in the long term and development in the short term, and we were able to quantify these costs. So, with a business model framework kind of laid out, we now have the information to reach out for additional key partners. And we were able to do this, bringing in Western's Propel, the Next 36, BioEnterprise, Tech Alliance, and the Ontario Berry Growers Association, who were able to provide support, mentorship, and additionally give us new insights in the problem. So, with our key partners established, our key activities allowing us to iterate quickly, our development skills established, and a relationship with growers established, because in our contact, we locked down 4 organizations who are willing to beta test our solution. That solution being digital, the design being simplified, being able to call and visit the operations would solidify our customer relationships, and we knew that people were willing to use direct sales channels then facilitated by the application store. We saw the link between greenhouses and vegetables and greenhouses with marijuana, and we had a viable cost structure and revenue stream. So, with Cultivate Compliance, we developed a problem identified through rigorous phone interview consultation. We confirmed and disproved hypotheses to build a frameworked business model, and we've partnered with customers to iterate a product quickly for their needs. We are excited to be building a business with the customer in mind.